I was lying in his bed at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling while Miles was next to me, propped up on one elbow. We'd just finished. Usually, I'd already be pulling my jeans on by now, making some joke about needing to get home. But he put his hand on my shoulder, gentle. Sky, I need to tell you something. I felt my stomach drop before he even said the words. My name is Sky. I'm 27 years old. I live in Portland, Oregon. And this is the story of how I broke the only rule we had. I'm about to tell you something I've never told anyone, not even my closest friends. Not because it's some big secret, but because I don't know how to explain it without sounding like exactly the kind of person I never thought I'd be. The kind who runs when things get real. Let me back up. About 2 years ago, I was working as a bartender at this craft cocktail place in southeast Portland, near Hawthorne. You know the type, exposed brick, Edison bulbs, drinks with names like Smoking Gun and Bitter End. I'd moved to Portland 3 years before that from a small town in Washington, trying to figure out who I was without my family's expectations hanging over me. I cut my hair short, got some tattoos on my forearms, stopped trying to fit into boxes people kept building around me. I liked being alone. I liked my independence. I liked not owing anyone anything. Miles was a friend of friends. I'd seen him around at parties, outdoor shows, the usual Portland scene. He worked in graphic design, freelance, always had paint stains on his hands from some side project. Tall, kind of lanky, wore these vintage band t-shirts and had this smile that made him look younger than he was. He was 31. We probably exchanged maybe 20 words total over 2 years of running in the same circles. Then one night in March, there was this show at a tiny venue on Division Street. Local indie band. Maybe 50 people packed into a space meant for 30. I went with some co-workers after our shift. Miles was there with his roommate. We ended up near each other at the bar between sets, both trying to get the bartender's attention. He looked over at me and said, quote, 3? I laughed. Quote, what for? We got our drinks, stayed talking. The band came back on, but we barely noticed. Here's the thing no one knows. I was attracted to him immediately, but not in some overwhelming way. It was easy, comfortable. We talked about nothing important, music and stupid Portland jokes and how his roommate kept adopting plants he couldn't keep alive. When the show ended around midnight, everyone was heading to someone's apartment in North Portland. We shared a lift. His place was on the way. When we pulled up to his building, he looked at me and said, "You want to come up for a bit?" I knew exactly what he was asking. I said yes. His apartment was small, second floor of an old house, hardwood floors and windows that didn't quite close all the way. He poured us whiskey in mismatched glasses. We sat on his couch and the conversation just kept going, but there was this charge in the air now, this awareness. He was looking at my mouth when I talked. I was noticing the way his hands moved. At some point, I don't even remember who leaned in first. We were kissing. His hands were in my short hair. Mine were pulling at his shirt. We didn't make it to the bedroom that first time. The morning after was when we made the deal. I woke up around 7, sunlight coming through those badly fitted windows. Miles was already awake, making coffee in his tiny kitchen. I got dressed, went out there. He handed me a cup, black. Somehow knew I didn't take sugar. We stood there in his kitchen and he said, "So, I don't really do the relationship thing right now. Just got out of something pretty serious about 6 months ago, and I'm not looking for that again anytime soon." I felt this wave of relief. I said, "Good, because neither am I." He smiled. "So, what if we just kept this simple? No expectations, no drama, just this." I took a sip of my coffee. "You mean like friends with benefits?" He laughed. "I guess that's what they call it." I thought about it for maybe 10 seconds. "Okay, but we need rules." He raised an eyebrow. "Rules?" We sat down at his kitchen table and actually talked through it like we were negotiating a contract. No staying over, at least not regularly. No dates, no dinners, no couple things. We could text to meet up but keep it straightforward. No jealousy if either of us hooked up with someone else. And most importantly, if either of us started catching feelings, we'd end it. Clean break. No hard feelings. He put out his hand to shake on it. I shook it. Quote, 13. Looking back now, I can't believe how naive we both were, thinking we could control something like that. It started as once a week, sometimes twice, always at his place because I had roommates who'd ask too many questions. Thursday nights became our regular thing. I'd text him after my shift, usually around 11. You up? He'd respond within minutes. I'd walk the 15 blocks from the bar to his apartment, let myself in with the spare key he gave me after the first month. We'd have a drink, talk for maybe 20 minutes, then end up in his bed. It was good. Really good. Easy and comfortable and uncomplicated in a way nothing else in my life had ever been. We never went out together in public as just the two of us. If we saw each other at parties or shows with mutual friends, we'd say hi, chat in groups, but never leave together. Nobody knew. That was part of the thrill, honestly. Having this secret thing that was just ours. Sometimes at a crowded house party, I'd catch his eye across the room and feel this electricity, knowing what we'd done 2 nights before, knowing what we'd do again in a few days. The months went by like that. March turned into April, then May. Portland summer arrived with its perfect 70-degree days. We kept our Thursday nights, sometimes Sundays too. He never pushed for more. I never offered. It was working exactly like we'd planned. I'd show up, we'd be together, I'd leave. No complications, no mess, no feelings. Except, here's what I didn't admit to anyone, not even myself. Somewhere around June or July, things started shifting. Small things. He started keeping the kind of beer I liked in his fridge. I started noticing the way he said my name. Soft, like it mattered. We'd lie there after, and instead of me getting dressed right away, we'd talk for an hour, sometimes longer, about real things. His parents divorced when he was a kid, my complicated relationship with my sister, dreams we'd had that didn't pan out. The conversations got deeper, more honest, but we never acknowledged what was happening. In August, I had a terrible shift at work. A customer had screamed at me over nothing. My manager had been useless, and I'd nearly quit on the spot. It wasn't a Thursday, it was a Tuesday, but I texted Miles anyway. Bad night. Can I come over? He responded immediately. Doors unlocked. When I got there, he didn't try anything. He just sat with me on his couch, let me vent, ordered Thai food, put on a stupid movie. I fell asleep there. Woke up in his bed the next morning, fully clothed, with a blanket over me. He'd taken the couch. That should have been my first real warning sign. Fall came. The rain started. Our Thursday nights continued. But now when I showed up, sometimes we'd just talk for hours and I wouldn't leave until 2 or 3 in the morning. He started asking about my day, remembering small details I'd mentioned weeks before. I started noticing everything about him. The way he made his coffee, the books on his shelf, the music he played while he worked on his design projects. This wasn't just physical anymore, and we both knew it, but neither of us said anything. We were both too afraid of breaking the spell. Then in November, almost exactly 1 year after we'd started this thing, everything changed. It was a Thursday night. I came over like usual. We had our routine down perfectly by then, but that night felt different from the moment I walked in. He was quieter, nervous almost. We had a drink, ended up in his bedroom like always. But afterward, when I started to get up and get dressed like I always did, he caught my wrist. Not hard, just enough to stop me. I sat back down on the edge of his bed. My heart was already pounding. I knew. Somehow I knew what was coming. He sat up, ran his hand through his hair. The words hung there in the dark room, just the streetlight outside casting shadows through his window. I couldn't look at him. I stared at my hands, at the tattoo on my left forearm. I know we had a deal. I know we said no feelings, but I can't keep pretending anymore. He took a breath. I'm in love with you. I've been in love with you for months now, maybe longer, and I know that breaks our agreement, but I had to tell you because I can't keep doing this and acting like it's just casual when it's not. Not for me. Not anymore." The silence that followed felt like it lasted for hours. It was probably 30 seconds. I could feel him looking at me, waiting. I wanted to say it back. The words were right there. "I love you too." 3 simple words. But they wouldn't come out. It was like there was this wall in my throat blocking everything. All I could feel was panic. This rushing, drowning panic. This wasn't the deal. This wasn't what we agreed to. If I said those words, everything would change. I'd have to be vulnerable. I'd have to let him in for real. I'd have to risk getting hurt. Risk hurting him. Risk all of it falling apart. I couldn't breathe. Quote, 23. His voice was soft, careful, like he was afraid I might bolt. He was right to be afraid. I finally looked at him. His eyes were so open, so honest. He meant every word, and that terrified me more than anything. I opened my mouth. Quote, Colonel 24. That's what came out. Not, "I love you too." Not, "I feel the same." Just, "I need time." I watched his face change, hope dimming. He nodded slowly. "Okay, take the time you need." I got dressed. He walked me to the door. We didn't kiss goodbye. I walked home in the November rain and I cried the entire way. Not because I didn't love him, but because I did, and I had no idea what to do about it. I didn't text him the next Thursday, or the Thursday after that. He didn't text me either. I told myself I was thinking, processing, figuring out what I wanted, but really, I was just hiding, being a coward. 2 weeks passed, then 3, then a month. I kept expecting him to reach out, to push, to demand an answer. He never did. He was giving me the space I'd asked for, the space I didn't actually want but was too scared to close. In December, we saw each other at a mutual friend's holiday party. I almost didn't go because I knew he'd be there, but I went. When I walked in, he was in the kitchen talking to some people I didn't know. He looked up, saw me. Our eyes met. For a second, everything else disappeared. Then someone said something to him and he looked away, smiled at them, continued his conversation. I stayed on the other side of the apartment all night. When I was leaving, I passed him in the hallway. "Hey, Sky!" His voice was friendly, distant, like I was just another acquaintance. "Hey, Miles." We stood there for this awful, awkward moment. "How've you been?" he asked. "Good. You?" "Yeah, good." Silence. "Well, I should get going. Good to see you." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I left, sat in my car for 20 minutes before I could drive. That's when I knew I'd lost him. Not because he was angry or hurt, though I'm sure he was both, but because he'd moved on. He'd put himself out there, been vulnerable, said the scary thing, and I'd said nothing. So he did what any person with self-respect would do. He let me go. January came, February. I kept working at the bar, kept living my life, kept seeing Miles occasionally at parties, at shows, always with that same polite distance between us, small smiles, smaller conversations. We were strangers again, except we weren't, because strangers don't know how the other person sounds when they laugh at 3 a.m, or how they take their coffee, or what they're afraid of in the dark. I still think about that night, that moment when he said, "I'm in love with you," and I had the chance to say it back. I run through it in my mind like a scene from a movie I can rewrite. In the fantasy version, I say, "I love you too." We figure it out. We try for real. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but at least we try. In reality, I said, quote 40, and then ran away from the one person who'd seen me, really seen me, and loved me anyway. Now it's been over a year since that night. I'm still in Portland, still bartending, though I'm thinking about going back to school, still single, still running into Miles every few weeks in this small, big city. Last month, I saw him at a coffee shop in Selwood. He was with a woman. They were laughing together, sitting close. She had her hand on his arm. I left before he could see me. I'm happy for him. I mean that. He deserves someone who isn't afraid, someone who can say the words when they matter. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd been braver, if I'd let myself feel what I was feeling instead of treating it like something dangerous. But I can't change it now. All I can do is keep moving forward and hope that next time, if there is a next time, I'll be ready. Ready to stay instead of run. Ready to say yes instead of maybe. Ready to risk my heart breaking instead of keeping it locked up safe where no one can touch it. So that's my story. We made a deal. Just physical. No feelings. No complications. And I kept that deal right up until the moment it mattered. When he broke the rules and told me he loved me, I had the chance to break them too. I didn't. Now I live with that choice every day. Every time I see him across a crowded room and feel that pull, that recognition of someone who knew me when I was trying my hardest not to be known. The question that keeps me up at night isn't whether I loved him. I did. I know that now. The question is why I couldn't just say it,